Welcome to the Body Energetics Podcast. I'm your host, 23-year fitness professional, Lauren Saracione. I started my hero's journey of reconnecting with my inner child to heal my mind-body disorders 14 years ago. In this podcast, I share my 3-step system to renew your mind, regulate your emotions, and regenerate your body. Go to bodyenergetics.com to join my free community where each week we expand on the theme of the current episode so you can reconnect your mind body to restore your physical health and create your desired aesthetic.
Hey everyone, this video or this live recording is all about how to bring your boss babe energy up into high voltage. If you haven't met me before, my name is Lauren Saracione. I've been in fitness for 23 years, and I use your energetics to create a unique eating and exercise program so that you can align your energy, become your most magnetic self, and live in energetic alignment. This is really exciting for me to share this with you because as I was learning how to use diet and exercise tools for a specific outcome of healing my lower GI tract and getting into the best shape of my life, creating the aesthetic that I have really longed for my whole life since I was like 9 years old. And my best friend was a very, very fit gymnast. She is actually my dream body. And one day when I hit it, I text her and I was like, guess what? I'm you. So I've been wanting to be in this shape for as long as I can remember, and I'm here. And what I learned along the way is that the tools, as irritating and frustrating and limiting as they can feel, are actually a place that we can align our energy. So we're going to jump into this really quickly. This is especially for the boss babes. So some of the things that happen to us women if we disconnect, if we have self-abandon when we are kids, when there is a traumatizing experience. And traumatizing experience as in the emotional state within the body with whatever is going on. So we could have a traumatizing experience with a parent because we're not understanding that they might be projecting or they might be parenting from wounds, or we could self-abandon and have the traumatizing experience if there is purposeful harm that's done to us. And they call them adverse childhood experiences now. And the point is that when we have experiences in our developmental ages and stages, especially under 4 years old, that disconnected mind body ends up creating a lot of resistance and a lot of sabotage. And then it projects itself out into the reality so that it can duplicate itself. And Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So there are a lot of things in our adult life that are a reflection of the energy, of the emotions of something that we experienced at really young developmental ages and stages. The disconnect really shows up in our mindset because what happens is when we have these emotional splits where we have to exit the situation in our mindset to not feel the experience in the body, we create mindsets that are proactive, that become our way of doing things to make sure that this emotional state that's it's being experienced right now, even at 2 years old, will never be experienced again. So the mind already starts to create mindsets based on the emotional state of the body. So we're creating these mind-body identities of who the mind thinks it is based on the emotional state of the body. And the emotional state of the body is twofold. It is molecules of emotion that secrete from the subconscious brain that then flood your cells. And what's in your cells? Your DNA. So your DNA, epigenetically, the study above the gene learns to express itself in that degenerative state because negative molecules of emotion that are attached to sadness, disappointment, shame, guilt, those are not growth hormones. Those are stagnation hormones. So the DNA starts to express itself based on that unconscious mind-body identity. And emotions are also vibrational. So they are magnetizing to you things that are similar to you in that emotional state. So this is why we can listen to all the Abraham Hicks and all the manifestation podcasts we want and think these thoughts of abundance. But if we have a state that is an emotional state of unworthiness, that we're afraid to be too much, that we're afraid we're not enough, that we are unlovable, that we are bad, or that there's something wrong with us, that emotional state is not going to allow the magnetism to happen to get into any type of good flow. So that's what's happening in the mind body state when we get programmed at these really young ages. So for the women, a lot of us, what we end up doing is we turn on our masculine energy, our doing energy, because what happens in this disconnected emotional state is we get the idea that we have to work harder to earn love. And I want you to expand your mind right now about the concept of love. That love is not anything that we've seen in a movie. That love is about the effort to understand something. So if we have moments with our caregivers, women especially, or little girls especially with their dads, when we disconnect, we are abandoning ourselves. And love, in terms of making an effort to understand something, that's our conscious self really wanting to understand and forgive and be able to be in connection with someone. But also on a vibrational level, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton, he explains it like this, that there's an energetic sine wave that everybody has. So when you meet somebody and you fall in love, you're actually just in energetic resonance where your sine wave is going at the same speed with the same peaks and valleys at the same time. And when you meet someone that you don't love, that you have like repulsion with, the repulsion that we're feeling energetically is the sine wave in opposition. So if their peak is where your valley hits, there's a repulsion. And he says that's what love is. Love is either the sine waves are in sync or the sine waves are in opposition and they repel. So when I think about this in terms of the boss babe, in terms of the girls who have had separation with their fathers, how this shows up in our workspace is that because the disconnection within ourself based on not having a good experience with our dad, what ends up happening to us is we lose the resonance within. We stop loving ourselves because we end up having to judge the emotional experience in our body so that we can make it right. Because the mind body is only interpreting what is happening within the physical system that the brain is in, the container that the brain is in. So when we have that mindset of there must be something wrong with me, I must be bad to not have this connection that I really desire with dad, that mindset of not love, of not being able to understand the situation because we're too young, we just make it about ourselves because we don't really have a larger context outside of our body at that young of an age, we transfer it over into every area of life. Because remember, love is about resonance and love is about an effort to understand. So when we turn on this boss babe energy that we have to work and we have to earn, then what happens is we end up repelling everything that is soft and easy and in a state of flow because we've cut off the feminine or the emotional connection. We went up into our mind to figure out what went wrong, to figure out how we're wrong, to fix it. And we took that mindset as we grew through other developmental ages and stages and just applied it to all the things. And one of the best ways to get validation is through work because you have a result of money coming in. If you do a good job, you get money. If you are in service and you do a good job, you get a tip. If you're an entrepreneur, if you do a good job, you're going to get more sales, customers, or clients. So it's very easy for those of us women who have had issues with dad to put all of our energy into achieving. And this carries over into the achievement of our body goals. So what happens is when we have the the boss babe energy that we're going to get things done, and we apply it to our dream body, what happens is the dream body becomes the same energetic, the same emotional substance of the fantasy that we had in having the perfect relationship with our dad. I'm being very specific with dad stuff right now. This can happen with any caregiver, but I'm being specific with dad because metaphorically, dad is the representation of masculine energetics, of the brain, of strategy, of discipline, of diplomacy, of getting shit done, of deciding, of creating boundaries, of what's a yes and what's a no. So the fantasy of the dream body, right? Like you think about how you want to look. If you're going to be like, I really want to feel super sporty in jeans and feel really fit. I want to feel really sexy and soft and feminine wearing a dress. I want to feel like a boss babe in slacks and a button up shirt. I want to feel really fit when I'm in a bikini. So we're after this feeling of what it would be like for us to have the body of our dreams. And most of the time, the body of the dreams also has a lifestyle that goes with it, right? Somebody thinks we are really sexy and they want to be with us. People of the same sex will look up to us and say, wow, I wish I could do that. And we command more respect. Because when you have a body that is above average, that is not in the obesity range that most bodies are, wherever Western culture has touched, if you're not in that, there is most likely something that you are omitting from the standard lifestyle, from the American diet that is not really food anymore. So when you stand out like that, there's a certain amount of leadership that to get the body against all odds that we have these days with our stress, with our sedentary lifestyle, and our fake food, to be against all of those odds, to be fit and muscular and energetic and lean and not inflamed because you're not eating a bunch of fake food, that's something to really take a look at. So this fantasy of our dream body is not just about what it looks like. There's a whole bunch of other validation from other people that go along with it, and an empowerment that go along with it. So when we are the boss babe energy and we look at that dream body, and then we look at the tools that we need to do to get to it, then we're really using those to go back and forth between earning and not earning, earning and deserving, because then the tools end up becoming the parentification. Like if you are if you're intimate with somebody too quickly, the sex then makes a parentification with that person. So what I see is that when we have this boss babe energy and we have the vision of our fantasy, the tools are kind of like the sex that you have prematurely in a relationship that then makes your wiring, our wiring, go off to be an anxious or an avoidant attachment based on the emotions that we had with dad. So then the tools become this place where we take out our teenage energy, where we're like, screw this. I'm tired of being restricted. I hate macros. I hate tracking. I should be able to eat whatever I want and people should love me no matter what shape I'm in, which is true. But if you do have an outcome to have a leaner build with more muscle showing, it's not true. You're going to have to do things with watching what you're eating with carbs, fat, and protein. Then when we have the exercise, showing up to the gym is, once you're there, right? It's like the easy part, right? But like getting there is not always so much fun. Sometimes you really have to talk yourself into it. But most of the body transformation happens with your food. It's much easier to show up to the gym for a 45-minute workout than it is to be conscious of your food for, an 18-hour day, 7 days a week, right? And you only go to the gym 3 days a week for 45 minutes, much easier. But what happens with the exercise is that we can get impatient, that we're expecting that in 28 days and just 4 weeks, going 3 times a week, we're supposed to have this incredibly drastic before and after picture. And some of those before and after pictures that are super drastic, where someone is really chiseled after, aside from Photoshop, a lot of those are from people who have spent years building that muscle. And maybe they just took 3 months off and went above their maintenance calories. So they were a bit puffy. So in 4 weeks, they did have a drastic transformation, but it was mostly just like water. And they were so aesthetically built muscularly that making a calorie deficit in 4 weeks after years and years of putting in the work with muscle, they do have the ability to make that change really quickly. But that's not what most people have done. So we have this false expectation of what we're going to look like in just a month time frame. So then what happens with the exercise, instead of us taking it out as the angry teenager who doesn't want to be restricted, who's having authority issues, who sees that there is toxic diet culture, who sees that a lot of the female aesthetic standards have been set by the patriarchy, noticing everything that's wrong with the world and with the construct, then no follow through, and then full rebellion with binging with the food. With the exercise, what tends to happen is the body will actually create some boundaries for you. So if you have this dream body and whatever good things are supposed to come of it once you have it, the inner child, this dysregulated little girl that's in you that is doing it for the validation and the connection with dad, just now personified in the dream body, that dysregulation and the emotions that are causing the dysregulation and the mind body split in the first place, those emotions have the potential to be felt when you're in your dream body or on your way to your dream body. Because however you judged the negative feeling in your body when you had a rupture within yourself because of a problem that you were having dad, however you are judging those feelings, your adult mindset unconsciously will judge yourself for whatever you in that old little mindset have created, that the dream body means that it would be too much if you look like that. You will never actually get to it because you're not good enough, that you're bad for wanting to look this way, that you're bad for putting up boundaries and saying no to certain things that aren't aligned with your goal, that you are wrong for feeling this desire to have whatever aesthetic you want. And that if you arrive at that dream body, you may actually lose something. And those unconscious feelings and beliefs that you don't walk around talking about it. This is the unconscious. Those things will create a boundary for you by getting you sick every time you're on a roll, or you even just decide that you're going to start working out. The flares, the chronic pain, that happens within your body to create that containment. But also remember, the emotions are vibrational. So if there is a deep-seated fear of not being a good person based on the rupture within yourself, based on the experiences that you had with dad, and the dream body is the fantasy emotions of having this perfect relationship, because it's all connected and there's a vibrational aspect of emotion, your sabotage will also include a projection of your emotional state. Then that means that you will attract distractions. You will attract fires that you have to put out, because if you shift your focus onto these other things, you won't be able to show up for your dream body. And that's actually a protection mechanism that's happening within your unconscious emotional state. And I am fascinated by this. Every time I had a health issue, when I was first diagnosed with PTSD, and the therapist said that childhood trauma affects our adult stress capacity. Then when I got into really looking at the primitive inner child from Dr. John Sarno with my neck injury, then when I looked at how we project our attachment style onto the tools when I was doing macros and an anti-inflammatory diet. When I saw how this was all connected, I was fascinated and have just made this a relentless goal to share this with people, because you can have the body of your dreams. It doesn't have to be any standard. It could be whatever you want it to be. But for the reasons why we haven't got it, this is why. It's all the internal system. So we can use healing modalities, concepts of how energy works and how mindset works and how developmental ages and stages work and how attachment to our caregivers work to apply to an attainment goal. So then the attainment goal becomes easier to get because you're doing the work physically, but then you're also doing the work energetically, emotionally, the inner work. So you meet your goal from two ends of the spectrum. So it's like you're doing it twice as fast. It's really cool. So let's get into how this is going to work for the boss babes with macro tracking and progressive overload. One of the things that happens when we're doing inner work and we find out that, hey, as a feminine, as a female who wants to have a man in her life that's going to be supportive and have some leadership and be emotional safety and provide for her so that she can go off and like do the thing and make life even more magical as a couple, that desire gets blocked by how masculine we are. So when we are learning this about ourselves, that we have worked really hard to figure out how to earn love, and we've kind of become our own daddy and creating our own provision, creating our money, creating all of the things that we wish that we had in a partner or in dad, we then sometimes feel like we have to get rid of that aspect of ourselves. We have to get rid of being a boss babe if we want to have a relationship or have something else in our life or not work so hard. But it's not a matter of getting rid of anything. It's a matter of integrating, because what I have discovered is that when we take a look at our charts, at our natal chart, at our human design, and we take a look at the ages and stages and who or what we needed at pivotal times where we had a negative, significant emotional event that was really painful that we feel stuck on now. If we look at those things, we will find that we have already become who and what we needed, and we have already been living in alignment of our human design or our natal chart. So to take a look at all of our accomplishments and say, this is too masculine, this is the part of me that is the overachiever because of this, I'm not going to be that anymore. That's not what we want to do, because you would have already been this person anyway. And this is the duality that life has, positive and negative, plain and simple. But it's just extremely painful because we were children when these things happened. We can hold duality now and have a good experience in work and a bad experience at home and still be able to show up to work, and vice versa. Have a bad day at work, but still be able to come home and not take it out on everybody. But because these polarizing experiences happened in childhood, they're painful. And it's supposed to be that way because we're tethered to our parents' nervous system and we are dependent on them for all of our needs. If we don't have our needs met, we die on a primal level. So it makes sense. So we don't want to get rid of our boss babe energy. So what happens now when you are the boss babe and you apply macro tracking, you are refining your energy. You are sharpening your edges. You are taking yourself to the next level. Because as a boss babe, you've already had to sacrifice a lot of social stuff, a lot of spending your money on play stuff. You've had to put your money into yourself, investing in yourself, and reading, watching, lectures, like doing all that. Like you've been putting in the time, and you have said no to a lot of fun things that maybe your friends did. Like I know, like my 20s, I worked a lot and I had my gym in my 20s. And there was a lot of things that my girlfriends could do that I couldn't, because I needed to make sure I was rested for my clients to open my gym at 5:30, that I would need to have energy throughout the day to do all the administrative stuff and sales and marketing, and then have the energy again for the evening shift. So the boss babe wherever you are in your business, wherever you want to take it to the next level, that you keep getting blocked at, that there's this unconscious self-limiting belief. There's this little tickle of self-doubt in the back of your head every time you want to step up, shift things around, do things a little bit differently, maybe raise your rates, maybe attract a different type of client. You can use the macro tracking to trigger you to activate the unconscious limitations that are blocking your next level in whatever you're focused on in your business. Because emotion is emotion. You think that this thing is the problem, this tube of lipstick, but it's only the problem because you're focused on it. So when you shift your focus to your cell phone case, you think this is the problem. So you could be looking at your lipstick, which in this case is your business, and saying, why this, and this is what I don't like about my business, what I want to change. So then you can shift it to looking at the food and sharpening how disciplined you can be and how many refined boundaries you can create and how you can see where your energy leaks are, because the macro tracking requires you to learn some math, to do some preparation with cooking, to plan your meals, to figure out how to have moderation to where you still can go out with your friends or go out to a family dinner and not worry about what you're eating, not have to like weigh anything when you're out to dinner. So that act is going to help bring up the emotions that are behind the self-doubt and the limiting beliefs that are blocking you from taking your next step in your business. When we look at the progressive overload, that's bodybuilding. What I do for myself and for all of my clients is what I call corrective bodybuilding, because I take people from the ground up, literally. Sessions when we get started with me start on the floor, to where we work your joints so you can feel the rectangular shape of your body and how the energy actually flows in a diagonal from bottom 1 foot all the way up diagonally through the opposite hand and the opposite temple joint here by your hairline. So I take people through their joint so that we can align the kinetic force, which is going to help balance the muscles so that there aren't as many pulls and snags on the spine, which contribute to headache and sciatic pain. Then I bring them into deep core so that they can feel their pelvic floor and the internal abdominal system, which is going to help with their digestion, because you create a stronger container for your organs, which are the most important part of your body. And then also to carry over into any exercises to give that much more force and power. Then we get into the bodybuilding that's based on their goals, what they want to look like, as well as how do we create balance in your body to make sure that you have a healthy, strong body long term. So then the exercises are a combination of what is desired for their aesthetic, for their dream body, and what is required for their health. Progressive overload means that every time that you go to exercise, you either add weight or you add repetitions or you add sets or you change the tempo. Time under tension builds the muscle. And as consumers, we've had a problem with the infomercials and the multi-level marketing companies that have fitness involved with it, to where everything changes all the time. The body then figures out, oh, this is like my regular state. Like, this is how much energy I expend. This is how many calories I need. So I'll lose a little bit of weight in the beginning. This is the body talking, because I'm not quite sure what's happening. I am expending a lot of energy, but because there's no progression to it, where the body acclimates to a certain fitness level, and then it has to get pushed again. Acclimates, push again. Acclimates, push again. Because the multi-level marketing companies and the infomercials have us doing all this crazy stuff all the time with no progression, the body will just figure out how to sustain that level, how to conserve as much energy as possible. Because the body's job is to hold on to calories in case there's a famine. The body's job is not to lose weight. So the progressive overload actually brings up your level of fitness and enhances your physique. The emotional part, right? Like, because the macro tracking is requiring you to step up in your masculine energy, to set new standards, to be aware, to be conscious, to look at your thoughts, observe your thoughts in the moment, and tune into your body of what you want and what you need. Does she need more carbs? Does she need more fat? Does she need more protein? You are reconnecting with your physical body through the macro tracking, because you have to pay attention to what macros are actually really good for you, because everybody's macros are generally different. When we're looking at the emotions with the progressive overload, we are choosing our pain. Emotions, memories, they're all stored in the body. Every body part has a metaphysical or a spiritual meaning. Spiritual just means non-physical. If you go back to like the beginning of the word, it's just spiritual. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. So when you are moving a specific body part, you are activating emotions. So when you do progressive overload and you're like, yes, like I am going to focus on feeling the blood come into the bicep. I'm going to focus on feeling this pump in my arm, because progressive overload and bodybuilding is all about feeling the pump, feeling your muscle work. It's a mind-body connection. So when you're doing your workouts with progressive overload, you have to be in your body. To get the aesthetic, you have to be in your body. I see a lot of women do the same exercises as me, but they are not in their body and they are not squeezing every ounce of that exercise out. Their bodies aren't changing. Their shape is not changing. They look exactly the same. So when we're doing a bodybuilding thing where we're like, yes, like, or if you're doing leg extensions and you're, extending your leg in front of you, you're like, okay, I'm going to do a light weight just to get the blood going. Yeah, I can really feel my quads. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to go a little heavier. Now I'm going to go heavy. Now I'm going to really push myself and only go for 5 reps. So I'm really going to see how much weight I can move. And there is a pressurization that happens through your body. The energy kind of excavates up into your brain, where you can perceive it in a different way. Joe Dispenza does this by modernizing the Kundalini breath of inhaling slowly and squeezing your bathroom muscles together, and then feeling that you squeeze yourself until you feel that your brain comes out of your body. That's a breathing technique that happens naturally when you're doing bodybuilding. So when you decide that you want to take your business to the next level and you need to refine your energy and bring it up into high voltage so that you can attract what you need, and you can reconnect with yourself to find what these energy leaks are, what the limiting beliefs are, and what your self-doubt is saying to you. If that's what you want, do macro tracking and progressive overload, because they're going to stimulate both system, and both system meaning emotions and mindset and your brain and your thoughts. And both of those have energetic functions. Your thoughts send, it's like the lighthouse. Your emotions magnetize. Your emotions are the dock for you to experience what you want. And both macro tracking and bodybuilding require you to listen to your body. So you're bringing everything together so that you can have another outcome in another area of life. And at the same time, your body is transforming. And at the same time, you're crushing through self-limiting beliefs and self-doubt. And at the same time, you're reconnecting with your inner child. And at the same time, you're seeing how much power you have. And at the same time, you're seeing that no matter what sad thing that you're still dealing with, you would have always been this great. It's not the thing that prevented you, and it's not the thing that made you. It's just the thing that happened. But you would have always been this great. And I think that that's a really hard thing for a lot of us to understand, because we've really personalized what the ruptures have done to us, or like what we think they've done to us, and how we think that we're not good enough, or we're bad, or we're wrong, or if we do become what we really want to become, that we would be too much because of those things. So that is your training for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have not joined the Body Energetics community, go to bodyenergetics.com. It's Body Energetics with an X, and I will support you for free. So the community has all of my tools, and when you come into it, you go to the classroom, and the very first module is how to use the system. And there's a goal setting video and you can take a screenshot and print out the goal sheet. Whatever your goal is, I tell you what tool to use. So if it's moderation because you want to stop binge eating, if you want to lose fat, it's going to be macro tracking. You want to do energetic work with your masculine energy, it's going to be macro tracking. If you want to do emotional work with your emotions, you're going to do moderation. And then whatever type of exercise, whether it's Pilates, whether it's corrective, whether it's skill-based that you want to be able to do a push-up or a chin-up. If you want to do heavy duty strength training with barbells, if you want to do bodybuilding, they're all there. And so the classroom is designed so that you have everything that you need. You watch the modules. It's just like we were having a conversation. I give you links to YouTube playlists that even those playlists have instructions as if I was writing you your very own program. And then you show up to the community wall and you post questions and you're like, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is what I tried. This is how it went. What do you think? And I will coach you. And every time you interact with the platform, including supporting other people on their journey, you have an opportunity to be one of 3 people to be on the small group coaching call that's the first Saturday of the month. So what this does is you get to earn coaching. So if you're someone who you're like, I really can't afford to have a personal trainer. I wish there was someone I knew that I could take out to coffee or take out to lunch and just ask all the questions. That's basically what I've designed for you. Although you don't have to buy me coffee. You can, I'll give you my Venmo, but you get to learn. And I have this set up for you, number one, because I do charge a lot. And I don't want to coach people for free in my DMs. So this is a place where I can coach you for free if you don't want to pay my rate. If you don't want to do any of the group containers, which I have a new one launching very soon, which I'm very excited about. And also, really, first and foremost, from the human perspective, I believe everybody should know this because this is about your body. This is about your brain and your heart and your mindset and your thoughts and your emotions and your energy. And we can refine them and connect back with ourselves through the tools, letting the tools activate us and trigger us and send us into spirals. And even binging, like if you binge, I encourage you to binge and then stay present to it. Because if you can be aware of the thoughts that you're having while you're binging, write them down, and the feelings. Then if you can be aware of the thoughts and feelings that you're having after all of the shame, write them down. Then when you can be aware of when you get the love bombing phase and you're like, I'm going to start again on Monday and I'm going to throw away all the junk food and then I'm going to buy new workout clothes and I'm going to do this, write that shit down. Because those 3 things are all your attachment style. Okay, now it's officially over. I'm going to go. Thank you so much for being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, wherever it is that you're watching this, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you are listening on your podcast audio player, please share this with your friends and tag me at Lauren Saracione or at Body Energetics with an X. And yeah, that's it. Okay, now I'm really going to go. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful, please give me a 5-star rating and review. Share it with your friends. Tag me on social media at Body Energetics with an X or at Lauren Saracione, and I'll reshare you to my story. We'll see you in the Body Energetics community at bodyenergetics.com.